Yeah. You gotta work. You gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting here, you gotta work, grind, shine. Never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work.
Welcome to Let's Talk with Carl Lee, where sports, culture, and community intersect. Join Carl and frequent co-host Hollis Lewis as they dive into engaging conversations with guests from all walks of life. Let's Talk is proudly presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Let the conversation begin on Let's Talk.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Lee with Let's Talk. And today is going to be, I just want to let this, I can't even hold it in. Today is going to be one of those shows that is going to be probably all over the place. And probably might even touch a few nerves.
It's like a dentist office trip.
Yeah, it depends on it truly depends on where your loyalty lies, whether it's a WVU situation, whether it's a Marshall situation. But let me make sure I let everybody know who's all here. So Hollis Lewis is here.
What's going on?
And Lisa Odie, the football queen, is here.
Hello.
All right, and we are sponsored by Frank Walker, Real Talk, Real Experience, Real Results. You can visit Frank Walker at FrankWalkerLaw.com for more information. All right. Marshall.
Yeah.
Huge win, right?
Huge win.
Huge win.
That Hollis heck can wear the proud badge of staying up and watching.
Watch the whole thing.
Not like you and I, Carl.
Exactly.
The old people in the room.
But the thing is, it was such a great win. I mean, they were down 17-0 at half, and they marched all the way back up. So they go, it's back and forth. They tied up, and I think it's like in double or maybe triple overtime. And then instead of just like, they go for two, win the game, and it's just it was really a phenomenal game. It was a phenomenal coaching job too to keep them boys just together.
Well, okay, so that was where I was going to go, because one of the things that I have over Coach Huff's tenure, I think he is that guy who, just watching him interact with players, interact with coaches, he seems to be that kind of jolly, positive kind of coach who makes you feel like we can do anything.
Yeah.
And I think that rubs off, Lisa, on the players, on the coaches, and I even think he's got the fan base, which I would have said earlier in the season that he didn't.
I don't know, man. Our fan base is fickle.
Well, that's true. But I was going to say
all fan bases are fickle.
Maybe.
I'm thinking that they're a little bit more excited about him now.
Yeah.
I think when the conversation was talking about him leaving, the possibility of him leaving, I would make the case that a lot of fans were like, hey, we weren't excited about you anyway. We were ready to let you go anyway. But all of a sudden, how many games in a row do you win?
Yeah, I mean,
right.
And all of a sudden that changes that dynamic of, do we really want to get rid of him? Because there's no way.
Well, it's not about getting rid of him now.
Not now.
Now it's about keeping him, I think.
And isn't that interesting? That if he decides, now people are saying, oh, he shouldn't go. Don't leave. But did you want me to go?
Going back to what you said about fans and how fickle they can be at times. If you look at the resume that Huff has established at Marshall and Huntington in general, he's making history. I mean, you look over the accumulation of 3 years. Yeah. The guy beat Notre Dame at Notre Dame. Yeah. Okay, that's on the resume.
Yeah, that's true.
And just the other night, this is, I don't know if people realize this, but this is the first berth in the Sun Belt Championship that Marshall's earned. Yeah. So there's another piece of history. So if you start adding up all of the different little victories, it makes a big impact.
I didn't even think about that, because you do have to. He beat Notre Dame. He beat Virginia Tech.
Yeah, he beat Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech. Add that.
So you're Sun Belt East champs,
right?
And now you're in the championship.
First time,
and you'll go to a big bowl game. So it's like now. I mean,
What can you say? What is the negative thing?
You can't. It's
You can't
over.
say
You can't say
anything
anything
negative.
negative.
I make the case,
and you picked 16 players in the NFL.
Yeah,
Yes.
yes.
That's on the resume
That's on the
too.
resume
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
So should the reality be, Coach, we want you to stay?
I think we're past that because I don't. To your point, now you said it last time we were here, Lisa. Can they afford to keep him now?
Well,
that's the thing now because he's. I mean, again, if you pick that resume, just what we said, well, I'm sure we're missing a bunch of stuff as far as whether other coaches have gone and everything like that. So if you put that resume out there, you gotta. This guy's going to the next job, and he's going to a big job, and he's going to get a big check.
So you think he's gone?
You have to be. I mean, how could you not? I mean, unless you love it, you're a lifer, that's different. But if you're looking to move up to the ranks, I mean,
It's a
keep in
stepping
mind,
stone.
he came from Alabama. So are
Right.
you looking to get back to an Alabama? If you're looking to get back there, then you got to go.
I think Huntington will put up a fight. I think that they
hopefully.
realize. I think Southern Miss has already probably put an offer on the table.
Yeah.
I think that's established. I mean, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I feel like that's already there in the works. And so now I feel like that Marshall's in that mode where they're trying to find a way financially and in a contract a way to keep him in Huntington now. And I don't know which way that pendulum is going to swing, but I do feel like they realize what they have and they're going to fight to keep it.
Hollis, I know you have a list of names of people who, I guess, names have been thrown out there.
Well, WVU, not necessarily.
okay. Well,
I know one name as far as the Huntington. I think Tony Gibson is what they're talking about from NC State.
Yes.
He's a West Virginia kid,
Yes.
West Virginia guy from Van. He's coaching at NC State. So I know his name has been thrown out there for Huntington.
Okay, so here's
Marshall, I should say.
here's my, and I confused you on that one.
Yeah.
But here's what's interesting to me. I think when you start to look at Huff, Coach Huff, and you look at the fan base and you try to ask, what does the fan base want that he hasn't done? And then for him, are you upset, or could you have in your gut kind of like, well, they were talking all this negative when
I think as
you
a
know.
coach, you got to
Yeah,
be
you
tougher.
gotta let that go.
And
I don't
again,
think so.
okay, so
Yeah.
You're going to have games where the fans are going to turn on you. I don't care who you are.
if and
gotta stay
I'm going to make
locked
I'm going to make the case that Marshall is probably one of the greatest fan bases out there, with the inclusion of its history. Okay, but it can be fickle. It can be very fickle, and I'm going to make the case that Coach Huff, at this point, becomes one of Marshall's greatest coaches in football.
Yeah, he definitely had a
I
great
agree.
run.
You know what I'm saying?
I would
that's
also say
even
this though: Marshall's a great job. I think it's a very underrated job. I think how you're able to recruit because of where Huntington is. You're in this tri-state area of Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky. You're close to Virginia, Maryland, D.C., Pennsylvania, and it's just something special about that place. And if you can do it right, you can get some major and big wins there.
I think too, who the recruiter is, who the head coach is, I think is the guy who's going to impress you more so than, let's just say, Marshall's history. Because, I can go back when I was at Marshall, playing at Marshall, you would have guys come in and, we didn't have all that they have now and we weren't winning. So there was nothing really to draw you in. But now Marshall has everything, and the thing that they have to have is they have to have that personality as the head coach to represent it. Bob Pruitt was that, and for sure Coach Huff is that.
Yeah, Holiday was that too, I think, as well. Like I said, I think it's a great job, and I think he's done an excellent job there. And unfortunately, it's just probably if he has bigger aspirations,
Right.
he's just going to go, and it's fine. And I think we just got to find the next guy.
Yeah, but I also think whoever, hopefully Huff will stay, but if not, the next guy, I think they've got a lot to offer recruiting, not only what you said about facilities and the upgrades and what we, have as far as athletics, but also being a part of the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah.
When they were in Conference USA, that was kind of spread out and it wasn't as attractive of a conference to offer recruits as the Sun Belt is because you've got local teams, you can travel to those, fans can follow. It's a better fit for Marshall than what Doc Holliday had to deal with in Conference USA, in my opinion.
And you also create an advantage because if you're in the Sun Belt, you have a lot of those southern teams, and then you got to come up to Huntington in November and late October. So you do have a little advantage there for them, them later season games. And I'm really impressed just the way in which, like Huff did, and I talked about this last time, scheduling those Notre Dames, those Ohios, the Virginia Tech, scheduling those games, I think is big for the program. It's going to bring money into the program. It's going to let you compete at a national level, get nationally televised games. So I really think the manner in which he sort of molded and guided the program, hopefully the next coach, or if there is going to be a next coach, can kind of leech onto that and continue.
Well, and to those games, I know that when I was at Marshall, Sonny Randall took us to like Mississippi State, and they had just beat like Alabama, and we were still winning 1, 2, 3 games a season. But it was a total different experience for everybody, for every single player that was on the field, from the crowd, from the talent that you're going against, and now Marshall fits into that profile. Yeah. Now,
and think about what he's did as far as like WVU's not playing those sort of teams now, right? They don't play those teams and hit up on that. So I even think strategically, being in West Virginia, realizing that your premier program, your premier school doesn't play the Ohios, they don't play Notre Dame, they don't play Virginia Tech anymore as much as they used to, and now you're playing them. So strategically, it was a good move as well.
I didn't think about that, but
that's a good point.
That's a good point, though.
Yeah,
and to add to his resume, previously we were talking about the game the other night with the overtimes beating JMU. Something else he can add to that resume that we're talking about is that's one of the biggest deficits. I think it was like listed as the 5th largest deficit in the program's history to come. So, that was no small task. I mean, I went to bed at halftime and they were getting dominated on both sides of the ball.
Both sides.
And I think even we were texting each other and I was like, they look horrible. And I looked at my husband and, I'm an old lady. I'm like, I'm going over this. And then the next day I wake up and I was like, that is an amazing feat. Yeah. I mean, I had flashbacks of, remember the miracle in Mobile?
Yeah.
Whenever Byron Leftwich pulled that comeback. So I had kind of that image, and that was the days of greatness for Marshall. So we're kind of equating Huff with bringing Marshall back to greatness.
I mean,
in a different scenario because we've got NIL and the transfer portal. So it's
and I'll make the case that that Marshall is not even nowhere even close to the top in NIL money.
Oh,
and so still being able to win games like that with the players who are not giving up. Mm-hmm. They trust in him. Can you imagine him at halftime and you're losing?
That's what I want to hear.
I would like to see the halftime speech because it's telling me, it's going to make me come out of that line positive, thinking, that all we got to do is this, and then we on top of this. We can win this game. That's hard to do.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, so this ain't the only big coaching change we got. This ain't the only one.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, hey, let's go there. All right,
let's go there.
So Neil Brown.
Yeah.
What do we even ask the question? Where's his future, or do we just say?
I think we're asking where our future is. Where WVU? That's the question that we've been asking.
He took a nice check with him when he left.
So I think he's going to be all right.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
He's okay.
Yeah, he'll be okay.
Yeah.
And
he was very gracious in his presser. So and wouldn't you be when you're leaving with that amount of money in your pocket?
For sure.
But see, I just think that I think that's who he is. I've always kind of liked him. Just every time I see an interview. There's just something about him that I like, and so him leaving. The interesting component to me is like, okay, is this a coaching issue, or is this a player issue,
I don't think it's either. I think it's a coaching issue to a degree because, like I said, you got to be a dynamic recruiter. But I think, unlike what you said, Lisa, about Marshall and being in the Sun Belt Conference, how that's attractive, it's a good fit. It's just that WVU being in the Big 12 is a horrible fit. And like I said, I looked it up.
Good point.
The last 5 Big 12 championships, the majority of their roster is comprised of Texas football players. You're talking about probably 70-80% of their roster. So I say it's about 60 to 80% of their roster is comprised of Texas football players. So you got Oklahoma 19, Oklahoma 20, Baylor in 21, K-State in 22, and Texas in 23. So their roster are comprised of Texas, Alabama, Louisiana, and California. Currently, West Virginia has 1 Texas football player on their roster. So to me, unless you're going to win recruiting battles in those 4 key states,
Which you can't.
Which you're not at WVU. This is who WVU is in the Big 12. And to me, unless you get, like I said, you have to get a dynamic personality, a dynamic recruiter to come here and switch it up because you're just not going to win that battle.
So
they need a name. They need a name.
100%.
you talking when you start talking about the head coach?
Yeah,
that's got to be a name.
It's got to be.
It's got to be.
So.
Okay.
At this point,
and here are the names that they're tossing around. This is all speculation, but obviously Rich Rodriguez, he's the current coach of Jacksonville State. They're talking about Jamie Chadwell out of Liberty. They're talking about obviously Jimbo Fisher, West Virginia guy. They're talking about the coach Barry Odman out of UNLV. He's done a good turnaround there. They also mentioned Coach Huff. Which maybe that wouldn't be a bad fit, and there's also names like Bill Belichick. I think that's a joke.
Yeah.
But they also mentioned like Nick Saban. So these are some of the names that's out there. But
Urban Meyer, I've heard that.
Urban Meyer, Bill Clark, Ryan Silverfield, Tyson Helton. So there's a lot of names that's out there, but regardless, you got to get somebody who's going to be a dynamic recruiter and recruit those states.
Okay, so that's really where I think it all starts from, and it's going to start from the recruiting and who is that recruiter and who do you want knocking on your door? You know what I'm saying? Because who knocks on your door, and or if I'm the recruiter and the big name head coach is sitting there, I'm coming in talking to you about you get a chance to play with this guy.
Yeah,
you know, and this is the opportunity that a whole lot of people would like to have.
Yeah.
Now,
so
who passes that up though? Like if you get somebody like that,
but who do you get is the question.
Well, that's the start.
And that's exactly the question I was going to pose to both of you guys. Who on that short list do you feel like would be the best fit in Morgantown?
I mean, realistically, if I'm looking at those names and just kind of thinking outside the box, I mean, you need a prime time effect, like a prime Deion Sanders effect. So I think Jimbo Fisher.
I was gonna. That's where I was gonna go.
Again,
I think we're all in agreement on that one.
But Coach Fisher got 75 million reasons why he maybe wouldn't want that job.
Yeah. Because this is gonna take some work, but. Yeah. Flip that and say, okay, I got that $75 million, so I can afford to take that job.
Good point.
I can take that job because I've already got the money that I'm looking for. I'm good for now.
It's not about the money.
It's not going to be. It won't be.
It would be about just getting out of retirement. Maybe he's tired of it. Maybe he just wants the challenge of coaching and the collegiate level again.
And he's a West Virginia guy too.
He's a West Virginia guy.
Yeah.
But the biggest point that you made starting this conversation out is they've got to find a way to get to Texas. They got to find a way to get to Texas. You got to get players out of those states in order to and that's
he
not
he was at Texas A&M,
that's
correct?
What I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that to me that's what makes
he wouldn't be new.
Yeah, he wouldn't be new to Texas recruiting.
Right.
Because you got to win some Texas. Because again, Texas, when you talk about Texas, California, and Florida, that's the best high school football in the nation. And again, I understand we got the transfer portal and all that, but if you look at the premier programs, a large percent of their rosters are still made up of high school recruits, the guys they're getting from high school, their foundations, right? Even if you look at Prime, I mean, his son and Travis Hunter, they were high school recruits that just followed him to California. But you got to win that.
But the one thing that I did hear Prime say this, and I'm pretty sure this is what he said, that he's not recruiting. He's not really recruiting high school kids now.
He ain't, because he don't got to.
Yeah.
He's not. Right. He's prime.
Right.
Good point.
Right.
He doesn't have to recruit.
But I say his two best players on that roster, he recruited them from high school.
Yes. Well, you can make the case they came with him. That really wasn't recruiting.
Right.
But they came with him.
Yeah.
But they were from high school. They weren't transfers.
It's interesting that he's the only coach, I think, that I've heard actually openly admit and say he ain't looking for a high school athlete. He's looking for somebody in the portal. He ain't looking for. He ain't got time to wait on the high school kid. I would have made the case that who he is and the staff that he has would be great to be able to mold and shape a kid.
What I think. That's what I think.
But he's looking for that kid that's already got talent, that we can give him some tips, and he can go on and become great. He ain't trying to mold them from the very beginning.
Which there's I'm not sure about that philosophy, but he can afford to do that because of who he is and his name. But what it is what's happening is the Marshalls, those smaller schools are picking up those high school kids. They develop them, get them ready for the college game scene, and then he goes in and swoops them out of those schools.
Yeah.
So that's the hierarchy there of the transfer portal and the damage that it's doing to these smaller schools, like a Marshall, even like a WU, to be honest.
Yeah.
How do you?
And we see. I mean, and we'll see if it works, right? I mean, he had promised that 3 winning seasons out of 6 so far. Two or three. So we're going to see if it works moving forward when he don't have Shedeur Sanders as
Do you think he's the only college coach with that philosophy out there? I mean, who else do you think is implementing that kind of?
A couple of them haven't. But I mean, if you look, even a guy like Dabo Swinney at Clemson, right? Mm-hmm. He's not back to where Clemson was, but they're still in contention, right? He's still winning games. They're still top 25. And he's recruiting out of high school. He's not doing all this other stuff. So I think it can be done either way. It's just that I'm not sure if you can have a 40-man roster turnover every year, and that's going to be sustainable.
No, and you can't lose your starting quarterback, your starting offensive tackle,
but you could be aggressively recruiting that portal.
Yes,
and then keep it stocked so that when those guys graduate, you got the next class coming up. It doesn't necessarily have to be freshmen coming out of high school. You could start with sophomores and juniors.
So I think you can get some plug and play guys, but like I said, I don't know if you could just do a whole roster turnover every other year.
No, I don't. I don't.
With no sustainability.
Well, I'll even make it a little bit smaller. You can't lose your base, your foundation, which is those, let's say, 5 to 6 guys, offense and defense, that are major players. You can't lose 2 of them. You can't lose 2 of them to the portal and go find them in high school. You're going to have to that will force you. That's going to force you to repeat. You got to find somebody who's already somewhat skilled and impressive compared to that guy that's in high school.
I think you can find some plug and play guys. I'm just not sure if you can do a whole roster turnover. That's what I'm saying. I'm not sure if you can say, okay, I'm going to replace my whole defense, my whole offense.
I'm going to make the case you can't replace your 3 or 4 top. You have to replace your 3 or 4 top players.
I think you can do that. I think you can find those guys.
I think if you work the system the right way, you could.
And if you're a prime like Deion Sanders,
he can do it.
You can find those 2 or 3 guys.
You are going to have to be prime or at that level.
Or just have money like Alabama and Georgia.
All right, well, let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. FrankWalkerLaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
Let's face it, bad things happen to good people. Seriously injured in a car accident, trucking accident, or even wrongfully arrested. Life happens, and when it happens to you, you will need sound legal advice and aggressive representation. That's when you call attorney Frank Walker at 304-413-0179. That's 304-413-0179. Lock it in your phone, text it to a friend. 304-413-0179. Or visit online at attorneyfrankwalker.com.
Find previous episodes of Let's Talk at WCHSnetwork.com/Let's Talk. This is Let's Talk with Carl Lee. Now, back to the conversation.
Go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. And let me give my buddy and friend a shout out real quick. Let's Talk is sponsored by Frank Walker Law. Real talk, real experience, real results. For more information, you can go to frankwalkerlaw.com. Lisa, these last few weekends are like the rival games. You know, the old South Charleston, G-Dub, you know, just like those types of games are huge. Talk to me about what are you looking forward to in this week? What are you thinking? What do you like? What do you just about
this past weekend? What
this
we
past
witnessed?
weekend? What you witnessed? And
Well, I think there's two words: flag planting.
Flag planting.
Flag
That's a new
planting.
thing.
I think that's what sparked a lot of the aggressiveness we saw on the field after play. I mean, we've always got the heated rivalries this time of year, like you just said, and I feel like it's okay if a player, you know, that especially if you're the away team and you come out victorious, it's okay to take your school flag and do a victory lap. I'm okay with that, you know, to the victor the spoils. But when you actively take your school flag into the middle of these players and the one team is licking their wounds from this horrible loss to their rival, and you're taking your flag and basically planting it under their nose right in front of their face, there's going to be a problem. Mm-hmm. And that's what we saw this past weekend. There were problems.
okay, so let me just say this about taking your flag out and taking it out on the field. Okay, like I've tried to figure out how frustrated that would be to me. You know, like you just won. And you're out middle of the field, got your flag up, and let's just say you're at the Viking field, right? Like you're at it's a home game for the Vikings, and you got a Packer flag in the middle of the field.
Oh, let's bring the Packers into it. Okay.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like how frustrated that would make me, because I would make the case if the game wasn't close, you know, right down to the end, am I that upset?
But I think it's different in that when you talk about like these college football rivalries, right? So it happened in like the Michigan, Ohio State game, right?
And
so
everybody knows
Ohio
what that
State,
is.
They were like what, number 1 or 2 going in, so they take this loss. So obviously that can either knock them out of the playoffs or that could, you know, change their seeding, right? So it's other implications, but just outside of the rivalry. But personally, I love it. I love
Of course
it.
he does.
I think it should.
Of course he does.
I think it should happen. Like, you know, like I said.
So you think the flag planting is okay?
I love the flag planting. It's okay. Let's do it, because this is the last thing that we have in college football. We don't have anything else.
So that's okay sportsmanship.
Great. Do it. Because what I'm saying is because it's going to keep the rivalries going.
Oh, they're going to keep going anyway.
What I'm saying is this. My point is this.
Okay.
This is kind of like the last thing we have in college football, because we talked about ad nauseum transfer portal, NIL. NIL's changing it strictly to a business. I think in sometime here in the near future, they're going to get rid of requirements for GPA. You might not even have to go to school anymore. You just might have to be an employee of the school.
Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
And again, with the transfer portal, you lose the continuity of the players. So it's not like back in the day where, you know, some super fan could go through the whole, you know, 60-man roster at WE, tell you everybody about everything, where they came from, every play they made. Now it's so much movement. I just saw a kid now. He's going to his 3rd school. Right? So we lost the continuity. We lost kind of the amateurism that was college football. rivalries is all we got left. This is literally all we got left. And with conferences changing, some of even the rivals, so I think like Iowa and Iowa State, they don't even play they didn't play for the first time in like 120 years. So this is what we have left. So Plague fans, get in fights, make it worth our while.
Now, okay. He's gone too far.
Ain't nobody getting hurt. You know, got a bunch of equipment on.
There's the reality too that it's hard to have a fight and hurt. The guy throwing punches is the guy who's going to hurt his hand.
Now, whether this is true or not, and I did read this somewhere, and of course, if it's on the internet, it's got to be true. Yeah. But that during the Ohio State-Michigan melee, that there was a guard trying to break up the players that got hurt. So you got that side of it too.
That's true. I mean, stay out the way.
But you have to break that up, man. You have to break it up. Somebody has to break it up.
If
even
I'm
the head coaches
a security
were appalled.
guard and I got a 6'6"
I
lineman,
understand that,
bruh.
But that's their job.
Y'all go get it out. Yeah, I'll wait till whoever win, and I'll just tell you, come on, bro, he had enough. I ain't getting in between y'all.
They didn't pay me enough.
Hey, come on now.
I'm shocked that you would take that position.
This is what we got left, bro. We don't got nothing left.
But we do. I mean, it's like I said. I mean, isn't it enough that you won the game and you do like your little rub the flag and do the little run around the field?
Plant the flag. Plant it.
Plant the flag. My goodness.
Like for example.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Like WVU didn't even play Pitt this weekend. Marshall didn't play Ohio or Miami of Ohio. We've lost it. We don't have it no more. We don't even have the rivalries that we
and Pitt played at the beginning. Yeah, but not this
they're not
weekend.
playing on rivalry week.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, they 40.
That's scheduling.
Come on, that's one of the greatest rivalries in college football. They don't play on rivalry. They don't play Virginia Tech no more.
But they didn't plant the flag. Of course, they won at home. I think this is more of an issue when you went away.
When you went away, of course.
Yeah, it's the visiting team that's winning.
Plant that flag.
Who's planting the flag at the 50-yard line.
But the coaches
home team, you got to take it.
The coaches, they don't like it. Even the head coaches.
Well, let me ask this. Before you finish that, I'm trying to figure out how am I as the player, and let's say you're the head coach,
right,
or you're a coach on the sideline.
Yeah.
How do I get out to the 50-yard line to plant that flag without you?
You run fast.
Without you telling me. I mean, come on. But at some point, you got to tell me.
Michigan player.
Yeah.
I mean, he just ran in the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't even. He didn't stop. Once he got in the middle, he tried to plant that flag, and those Buckeye players were all over it. They weren't having it.
So is that a coach? Is that something as a head coach I have to already start talking about before?
Maybe.
For sure, you got to talk about it.
To make sure that it never happens?
You got to talk about it, man. I don't know. I like it, man. Like I said, it's just, like I said, the rivalries that, I like that intensity of that, because it happened in what was it, the Notre Dame USC game?
I think it was, it was definitely Ohio State, Michigan. Then it was Florida State and Florida.
Florida State and Florida. That's what the other game that happened.
In-state. NC State and UNC.
Yeah.
And then Arizona State and Arizona, which were all four big
Great.
But that's crazy that you had four incidents in one weekend and there were big fights.
Do we need it?
We need it because look, we're only thing we've talked about, people barely don't talk about the play of college football now. All they talk about is the NIL transfer portal, who should get this award, who's not getting this award. We don't talk about the play.
But you can't. But you can't resort to
violence.
The fight.
You can't choose violence.
I know you're
I'm not
saying
advocating that. But what I am saying is I'm down with some flag planting.
And you know what's going to happen if you do that, though.
But you got to take it.
You know what the consequences are.
As a coach, you got to tell your players, look, man, if we go out here and blow this, they going to plant that flag and ain't nothing y'all can do. Y'all just got to turn.
Well, maybe that gets to be established.
Well, I would make the case. Yeah. To your point, that is a valid, that is part of the home head coach's conversation. Guys, I'm telling you, you better be prepared. If you do not win this game, that team across the field is going to come out and going to plant a flag.
And here's another point to make. I think the conferences probably are going to have to kind of step in and make rules about this because obviously I think the Big Ten fined both Michigan and Ohio State for their behavior. Both were fined like I think $100,000, which is nothing for the big schools.
Right.
But still, they were making a statement saying we're not going to tolerate this.
But I think you got to have some fun. I mean,
that's not.
I don't know if that's
that
fun.
is not.
It's fun to the fans. It's fun to the fans to see that again. We don't want to see melees. We don't want to see people hurt. Obviously, we don't.
What's going to happen? What this to me? This is what this can cause. This can cause you in the stands, me in the stands, Lisa in the stands, and wherever we support, whichever one of us lose, and whichever, because I'm not gonna I don't want you putting the flag up in my face because y'all won. Because so now
That's
you got
hard.
a bleacher issue.
But I mean, even if it's not a flag, what they'll do is, you can't bring flag. Okay, so they'll go to the other team's logo and they'll stomp their feet or rub their feet on the logo or
I
do
think
something
they can take
disrespectful.
that more than the flag
But I
planting.
think we gotta foster these rivalries. Obviously, again, you don't want to see anybody get hurt, but we gotta do something.
But bad sportsmanship is not the way to do it.
It's fun though. It's not necessarily always bad. This is fun.
Lisa, how does he get
I
fun?
don't
This is
know.
fun.
I don't know.
It's fun
It's
to go plant
Hollis.
your flag.
It's Hollis.
It's fun.
I would never expect you to be on this side
Because
of that.
I maybe wouldn't, but this is what we have left from college football. You realize this is it. We took around the bowl games don't mean anything anymore,
Well.
right? Because
I'll
we
give you
got the
that a little bit.
playoffs. We got the playoffs.
Yeah.
So now, even if you weren't in the national championship prior to this and you were in a bowl game, your bowl game still means something. Now you got players, if they're not in the playoffs, and even if they got a low seed in the playoffs, they're just saying, I'm not gonna do the bowl game. I'll just get ready for the draft or get ready for next season or get ready to transfer. We got coaches, again, this happened too, getting interviewed in the middle of the season. You got a championship game coming on, and now you job speculation and all that, which is problematic. So everything about the college football that we love is turned into almost that, which is it's cool to
that's
watch.
true.
It's cool to watch. The NFL's fun, it's great, but it's in playoff time. With college football, the difference was it was good from day one all the way through. Every game it was intense. So I just think for in some degree this is what we have left. This is what we're relegated to.
Like I said, I think the victory laps, I think the flag planting probably takes it a step too far.
I'll take it. Take that step.
I said what I said.
And again, I don't see you in that space.
A fan though, I'm a college football fan. I love college football, and it's just different now. It's just not the same, man. Like I said, it's just. I mean, even to the degree now where like number 1, number 2 seed, top seeds losing maybe 2-3 games, right? It's just not it's not the college football that we grew up on. I know I sound old at this point, but it's just the intensity of lacking. Until we get to championships time in the season. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, I think the intensity, the lack of it now, you can attribute that to the NIL. I mean, you've only got so many teams that have so much money, and they're up here competing for national championships every single year, and the rest of us are just, we're just going out there trying to gather the scraps up that are left over. That's what's happened to college football.
Yeah, because
more so than anything else.
And if you look at Marshall, we talked about Marshall earlier. Marshall at one when they had Moss and Pennington and Lethbridge on, they were a top 10
and that
team.
could never happen again.
Yeah.
It couldn't happen today.
Think about Marshall. They were a top 10 team. If they were if it was playoffs, Marshall would be in the playoffs.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, and now that may happen for one season, but what's going to happen? You got Randy Moss the next season. He's gone to Notre Dame, Florida State, somewhere to get a big check.
There's no question that Marshall's history, its positive history, could have happened if you had NIL.
It couldn't have.
No.
That's what I'm saying. Not just Marshall, Boise State, all the schools who were the underdogs.
And imagine
Alabama.
It's all about money. It's about
imagine
money.
Alabama being what it was and having the opportunity to bring in a Randy Moss.
That's what I'm saying.
And they would have.
And they would have.
Yeah, and it would be maybe hard for him to stay.
Yes.
Because he got all them zeros right in front of you. You're a sophomore in college. Yeah. So it's like when I think of college football, I think of those times, and one of the, like I said, the relic of that time now is the rivalry games. And again, And I think we're going to get to a point now. Again, UCLA, USC. They're in two different conferences.
Right.
That makes
How?
no sense. That makes no sense. You know,
The USC is playing in the Big Ten. Come on.
I don't.
Well, West Virginia's in the Big 12, so
Yeah.
that's still.
You know, I don't know why it's not, you know, geographically set up. And I know you can't always do that because, you know, you got a major D1 here and a D2 over here. But I just don't get the reality of who everybody's playing is all over the country.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and why can't you, like, by size, you know, by level, by athletic, and put all those groups in a general area playing a general area?
That's what it was prior to
Yes.
NIL and the money and TV deals and endorsements and this and that and that. So now it just becomes where is the most lucrative situation as opposed
Right.
to geographically.
I mean, look at
what
the
makes
SEC.
sense.
Look what they've done. How they've expanded and taken teams from
Texas
A&M. I mean, that doesn't make
And
sense.
how is there a loyalty, or let me rephrase it. Can a player have loyalty to a school that he's been really good at? Let's just use the Randy Moss at Marshall, and it's his second year, and everybody's coming trying to get him. Is there a possibility of having enough loyalty to say, "No, I'm going to finish out my career here"? Is there a parent, or is there an athlete, and or both, willing to say, "I'm going to stay"? I know we may only, because if they're going to offer you money, you're probably making some money where you are, but maybe not as much as they're offering you. Are you willing? Is there players out there that would be, and parents willing to stay put in spite of the money?
What do you think, Hollis?
I think it depends on your family situation, right? If you look at Archer Manning in Texas currently, money's not an issue with
Right.
him and his family. So he can afford to go there, be a backup when he could probably go to any other school in the country and be a starting quarterback from day one. So it depends on your family setup. So if you are Randy Moss and maybe you don't have the means at that time and Marshall's paying you 20, 30 grand, but then Notre Dame, Florida State, Alabama, Ohio steps in and say, hey, look, we're going to give you $500,000. What you going to do?
Yeah.
I think that's a good point.
You know?
I also think it depends on a personal connection with the school.
Yeah.
Like if you've had family go to school there,
That's a good point.
you know, if you're from that area, even if you're from that actual state that's recruited you, I think that matters too.
I'm questionable because I don't know if we get that kind of loyalty to a school now. I never thought about going anywhere, leaving Marshall in spite of losing. It never dawned on me that could be different if it was money and being a kid and not, but just focusing on not at a program that's winning, that people are talking about. It's always negative. I never thought about leaving, not one time. And I know it bothered a lot of guys who came from major Division I's and stuff that were, didn't lose a game. There was guys who hadn't lost a game their entire high school career, and they're barely winning. They couldn't. I mean, it was hard for them to handle it.
Right. I mean, I think whenever we were growing up, it was a whole different recruiting era, and so. We didn't have the social media. We didn't have you would have scouts actually have to come in person and watch you play high school ball or whatever level you were on for them to decide whether or not they would offer a scholarship. These days, I mean, it's not that way. They've got social media. They've got videos they can watch. There's just so many other aspects to bringing kids out of their home state to a different area in the nation in another school. Don't you think, Hollis?
Definitely. And plus, it's if I'm on social media, if I'm down here at Marshall, WV, I'm balling out. I'm an All-American. And like I said, I'm getting paid $20, $30, maybe $40,000, $50,000 a year. And I'm looking on social media, and I got this guy in Ohio or Alabama or USC, and he barely got half my stats. He doesn't have the accolades I got, and he's driving a brand new Lexus BMW, gold chains, living it up in the city. And I'm sitting here barely paying rent. And I'm better than this guy, and and then I turn around and get offers similar or more. It's hard to sort of manage that. So it's not. So again, it's just we've turned college football into a business, and this is the result. This is the result. You're going where the best offers is. I think you have some guys going to be ultra loyal who want to be Saturday morning heroes, who have a lineage to the school that they're at, who maybe have a loyalty to the coaching staff. I think those things exist. But, there's another side to that as well.
I don't know. It just seems.
I mean, in your case, Carl, let's just put this out there. If at that time NIL existed and you had a different school other than Marshall offering you money or, gifts to come play for them, do you think that could have changed your mindset about going to Marshall?
It might have changed mine. It might not have changed my dad's, but I probably would have been interested in pursuing it, seeing what it is. Now, my dad was probably not going to, my dad was that kind of, when you say you're going somewhere, you're going to be somewhere, you're there.
Right.
So he was.
That's until he get that $100,000 check.
Well,
that's until that happens.
And I'm saying that. I'm saying this for
that's a whole
looking
different...
back, and knowing who he was. But again, like you said, $100,000 changes a lot of
loyalty.
That changes a lot of things, right?
Because he might have been like, "Boy, you better go get that money.
You better go get that now. We don't know what the future holds."
Yeah. So, and again, man, I get it. I get it, but I just don't think that.
I don't like it. You don't have to like it.
But I say this like I told y'all earlier. This is the result of college football coaches. Coaches did this. And I'm putting that, and nobody talks about this because coaches back in the day, they had their endorsement deals. They didn't share that money. I mean, some of them, I'm sure they funded programs and did things probably underneath the table, but players couldn't cash in on that. I guess that's a better way to state it. Coaches, just like Rich Rod would do, leave before the bowl game. So you worked this season, you did all this stuff, you preached all this, and now we at the bowl game. Now we at the end of the season. You getting interviewed, the season ain't even over. So I think structurally, this is what college football coaches, presidents, and everything did. So you cannot blame the players for now. It's their turn to do it. And until we get sort of autocorrect the ship where everybody's playing the game fair, this is the result.
We'll never go back.
I think we can go back to a degree. I think we'll go back to
maybe just regulate it.
Yeah, it's going to be regulated. I'll say that it's going to be regulated, but. College football coaches, as much as they preach and do all this stuff, they got to take some accountability for this.
Okay, so let me just say this first.
Yeah.
Normally, when we get ready to come on the show, and we're discussing things that we're going to talk about, I don't know if I've ever necessarily heard you come out that hard on.
He's full of surprises.
Yeah, like you can you're straight up blaming the coach.
You got to,
and
nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about how we got here.
And you know what's funny? I don't even know if they thought they've had.
I can't argue with it.
I can't either.
Yeah.
I mean,
and I don't know if we
something
thought
I've
about.
I've never thought about it this way. But he's right. I mean, he's right to a degree.
Think about what would happen at press conferences. Let's say 5-10 years ago, you had a coach. He have his Gatorade or whatever drink he's endorsement. Bam, right there. He's getting paid or getting kickbacks from the apparel, Nike, Adidas, Converse, whatever they do.
Right.
Yep.
He's getting that. He's getting that. Commercials. He's getting that. All of it's coming to him or going to the school. And then the players are sitting back like they're not crazy. They're in college. They're taking advertisement. So they're seeing all this happening right before their eyes. They can't cash in on it. Remember Coach K's basketball on the same. He's getting paid for that, not the players.
But at that time, understanding that you are getting paid with a college education, and that is not a value anymore.
And what we've learned
for players,
is it ain't been a value in a while.
Right?
Well,
It's not.
Let me
It's
say
not.
that. I'll take that back. Our education is still valuable. It's just not enough. It's just that it's because, like I said, it's more money. It's more things out there.
If it was so valuable, then most of those players wouldn't leave for the draft. I mean, a lot of them that are good, that are being paid, they leave early.
But that's a small percentage.
It's not even costing athlete. It's not even costing the school money for that athlete to go sit in a class, whether there's 50 kids in and then he makes 51 or she makes 51. It is no more. It's not making any more or any less money for the school.
The school is benefiting for sure.
Yes.
But I'm saying at one time it was a value for you to get a scholarship because the main goal was for you to go get a college education for free, a free ride.
I said
That's
this.
not a value.
But I said this the other day.
A value, and also to the colleges, they're benefiting not only from that player doing what they're doing on the field or court, but they're also benefiting because in most colleges, the athletic department has the highest retention rate. They have the highest GPAs. They have the best students because, again, out basketball, those kids are graduating. The softball players, the tennis players, they're graduating. They're going to be the ones that go and do things and get back to the school and different things of that nature. So it's a huge benefit for the school to have an athletic department that's thriving.
Oh, and I've said this before, like when you start talking about the athlete, the student athlete, one, that's not even a term anymore.
Yeah, I heard nobody say that in a while.
You don't even hear student athlete anymore. And then the other situation is you rarely hear of a student athlete flunking out or struggling with his academics.
They get help.
And come on. Like, you can't tell me of every athlete, male and female, that come into the programs of the entire university, that one of those kids are not, like, on edge.
But I'll say this, though. I would say academically now, because you have access to the phone and you have access to AI, ChatGPT, Grammarly, there's a lot more tools, even outside of you getting tutored or cheating or anything like that. It's just a lot more tools that you can use. Plus, you're doing classes online.
That's what I was going to say. Classes are online
it's just
now.
Different
I mean,
now.
even like the kids that are attending school in person, a lot of their classes, they can do them from their dorm
You can look
rooms.
it up. If the teacher asks
And you're right,
you can look
AI.
up. So if you're failing now, you want to fail. That's cool. I'm just saying.
Good point.
But I'm just thinking, when you look back, you had those kinds of issues for players.
That's true.
And today you don't. That's not even.
That's a good point because I ain't heard that in a minute.
No, I mean,
academically ineligible.
You don't hear that.
That used to be a thing.
Yeah,
you never hear it now. You're right.
I was dealing with that at State.
Yeah, for sure.
And you don't hear it anywhere. Mm-mm. Like, you don't hear of a kid flunking out or
that's a good point. That's a good point.
So to me, where am I putting that? Who's responsible for that? I think it's athletics. I think athletics because athletics runs the school.
It does. 100%.
Because it's the moneymaker. It's putting you on national TV.
Football is the moneymaker.
And football is the moneymaker.
Yeah. But I say even to the Olympic sports, as I mentioned, those kids are going to get extremely high GPAs.
Yeah.
They're graduating school. They're on time because they actually have somebody helping them, like, guide them through as far as getting their classes set up, so they're graduating on time. So to the school, like I said, having a strong athletic department is a total benefit. I mean, as you see, that's why they're adding sports every year, because these are the kids that's actually going to college, going to participate on campus. They're actually going to be there on campus. You know what I mean?
And there's a reason why that a lot of these kids are making it is because there's a ton of money being put into the help that they're going to get.
Yeah.
You're not going to let that athlete, that top.
They're not going to be academically ineligible.
You can't afford that
not when
anymore.
they're getting your
You can't
NIL
afford
money.
that anymore. Yeah. And I think that's an interesting piece there on its own.
Yeah.
So, I had something. Let me find it. Oh, so the issue, the Heisman Trophy.
Oh boy.
Jeez.
The Heisman Trophy.
They don't wrap that thing up right now, ship it to Colorado.
Why not?
Ahead.
But for the person who doesn't think, I don't know how
I think there are few and far between.
Yeah,
I think every week that little that little base is shrinking. I mean, I really feel like the more he's performing on the field, the more people see.
Yeah, he's like the top receiver in the nation.
Yeah.
The top DB in the nation. He got the stats to back both of them.
Right.
How do you can't be mad at him? Like you,
I don't think anybody is now.
I don't know. If you don't like Prime.
Yeah, he might be taking that on.
You still may be.
We've talked about that,
Yes.
like being intimidated by him or just not flat out just not liking him. Yeah, that could affect the outcome of that.
But I just, to your point, Lisa, it's just you can't even deny it.
No.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that because I mean, I don't. Let's even go back to Prime. As great as he was, I don't know. I don't remember him being both sides of the ball, dominating both sides of the ball in college.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't let him.
Well,
it was a different time because he dominated special teams. And
he was a great kick returner, punt returner,
defense.
And was straight up shutdown corner, probably the best shutdown corner.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him. I don't think they would let him. But I mean, just what Travis Hunter, to me, it's not even necessarily like the statistics. It's just the amount that he plays. I mean, he's playing 120, 100 and plus plays a game.
And I'd be interested to know how many players across the nation are doing what he's doing.
None.
Exactly.
None.
Exactly.
And if you just said that, if you are doing that, you're not playing at his level. You're not like the number one.
Not
corner.
only is he doing it, he's excelling.
The number,
literally the number one receiver in the nation, and he's literally like the number. You could say top 5, top 3.
I think it's top 3 in the corners.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's just.
Yeah, that blows your mind.
And what do you like? What can you say about that? There's nothing that you can say, and this has nothing to do with Deion other than the fact that he dared do that with him.
That's a fact. I agree with that.
Because 90%, 99% probably of most coaches would have set him on one side of the ball. More than likely, offense and kick return, punt return.
Right. He'd be a DB for me.
He would be for me, but his speed, and he get the ball in his hand, he's got a chance to score. All of that kind of stuff.
So
I'm thinking.
It's just, how to me DB is the hardest position in sports, and with that athleticism and what he can do and just change the direction. I mean, he'd be a DB for me, but. It's just unprecedented. And like I said, just go ahead and wrap it up. Send it to
Boulder. Go ahead and
do you think
engrave his name on it?
Engrave his name.
Do you think that there is truly an issue with, again, whoever's going to choose the Heisman? Is there an issue with them giving it to him?
I think the only issue that they would possibly try to bring up is that his team's not going to make the playoffs. I mean, they're 9-3. They had a good season. They had a turnaround season from when Deion got there. So I think that's the only, because normally what they try to say, and again, the Heisman it's been a joke at times because of what they've done is they just gave it to the best player on the best team or the quarterback on the best team. He may not even be the best player. So I think this is an opportunity for them to autocorrect, and they're actually going to give it to just the best player, irrespective of anything else. So I think that's the argument.
I mean, that would be a weak excuse if they say, well, he wasn't on a team that's in the championship hunt. I mean, that is, hopefully that won't be the route it goes. I really feel like he's probably the most deserving player at this point.
If let's assume they picked X, right, and they don't pick him, they're not going to say why they didn't pick him.
No, but the writing would be on the wall, right? I mean,
no one, and that would be the issue. Is because no one is going to say, I didn't pick him.
Yeah, I think
so. My fear is if they go somewhere else, there is nobody to try to blame. Like, because I don't know who's
but the speculation, the media would definitely speculate on it.
There's no question. and I think there'd be a big argument about it.
There would be a huge controversy.
I think the only other player that's even in the race is the running back from Boise, and I think the only reason people would vote or go because they want to bring back the prevalence of the running back. So I can imagine some players, because I think the players who were Heisman get to vote. So I can imagine some of the older running backs just saying, hey, I'm going to go for a running back just because we want to prop the running back up again. So I think that's the only way you could sort of
See, I just
don't even think that flies.
Yeah, I'm with you. Because I'm kind of with you, Hollis, when you say who is the best player in college football. There's not a conversation. There's not even a number two.
It's not. I can say the running back is close, but that's it.
And that's coming up soon, right? The Heisman Trophy presentation, like in the next week or so.
Yeah, it should be up
after the championship games.
I think it's before that.
Is it before?
It's generally like before, like the playoffs. And stuff like
maybe in between.
So maybe the next week or two.
Yeah,
I think it's coming up.
Should be.
Well, I'm hoping that they do the right thing, and if they don't, man.
It's just a joke.
You better be on. You better be looking for Prime to be on TV because he's gonna talk about it.
Yeah, he'll have something to say.
No question.
It's almost like you're invalidated if you don't do the right thing. And we got to give a shout out, sending our prayers and condolences, not condolences, but prayers to Randy Moss. He's going through a health issues with his eyes and whatnot.
Yep, I'm glad that you did hit that. I actually forgot about that. I had heard about it, and then I sent out a text, and I didn't expect a response back, but I just felt like it was something for me, knowing him and respecting him as I do. I wanted to make sure that I did reach out to him, so at least he knew that I was thinking about him. And whatever this is, man, like I said, I'm hoping that it's nothing too serious, and he can get through it as quick as possible. All right, so one more time for Frank Walker. Let's Talk with Carl Lee is sponsored by Frank Walker Law. Real talk, real experience, real results. For more information, you can go to frankwalkerlaw.com. Lady and gent, I appreciate your time, and I will see you again soon.
See you later.
All righty.
Let's Talk with Carl Lee is presented by attorney Frank Walker. Real talk, real experience, real results. frankwalkerlaw.com. Comment on episodes, ask Carl and Hollis questions, or suggest topics at our Facebook page. Search for Let's Talk with Carl Lee, and remember to like the page to become part of the conversation.
If you fall, dust it off and get back up on your feet. Anything could be a win, yup, even defeat. They say sugar bad for you, why is victory sweet? Couldn't play with big kids, I had to sit in the street and watch from a distance, but over time I grew. If I put in the work, in no time I'm due. Everything that I worked and prayed, I'm okay. If you ask me, how did I do it, I'm gon' say, you gotta work, grind, shine, it's mine. Gotta show everybody it's my time. Getting in, you gotta work, grind, shine, never mind who talking down, cause they lying. Don't talk, you gotta work. 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 You gotta work.